All right, there's a set Ado from Ghana, and I'm happy to be part of the Connecting Day Ghana. So I'm the CEO of Credence Farms. Here at Credence Farms, we say best buy at the very best value. Okay, so we'd like to, in a very brief mode, to talk about Greek, the sense of the poultry sector. And as my colleagues have said, opportunity in agriculture in Ghana is very good. The poultry sector in brief is very lucrative. The Ghanaian people have become more health conscious. And because of that, there is a craving for more of the local poultry bed. And this is putting much stress on the poultry farms. So the greatest opportunity in the sector is that as much as people are growing more health conscious, people are demanding more. The demand for poultry, especially the meat type, is growing. Thankfully, the egg producing birds, the layers, we don't do much exports because of its variety. You wouldn't want to export eggs. So the layer market is very booming, unlike the broiler market where the higher imports is causing a bit of a problem. But thanks to God, the more people are getting more health conscious, they want to have much of the local broiler birds that are reared locally. So it's also a very good opportunity because there's so much stress on the production market and the production chain to try and then meet up to the poultry meat population of the populace. And that is actually the current problem of the sector, in that much has to be done in terms of investment to meet the population of people who need the local birds because of the increasingly health conscious nature of Ghanaians, and also government interventions to grow Ghana and eat what we grow in Ghana, as Stefan said. So it's created that agency. But most importantly, the poultry sector, especially the broiler sector, is very, very lucrative a business opportunity. Most of the challenges is feeding, getting feed, and then also processing plants. What happens in the system is that people have become very innovative, and then more people will want to have birds well-dressed and well-bagged. And that is a problem of the sector, where the dressing of birds, of live birds, are not so much appropriate. So people tend to like more of the imported ones because they are well-dressed, well-bagged. And so there is always the need, and the government's initiatives of creating factories in every district. One of the aim is to have investors come and then establish poultry processing plants where poultry birds will be dressed in some parts of the central Bonahafu regions and Ashanti regions, eastern regions, those parts where broiler production is very intense, so that we could have a system and a market where there is good value processing plants available, so that just like cocoa, when cocoa farmers finish their produce, they take it through the appropriate channels. So the poultry farmers, the government is initiating that approach, where investors who want to invest in agriculture could venture into the processing plant aspect. So if you have poultry farmers, if I have 1,000 birds on my farm and they are ready for the market, and there is a company that, let's say our brother Stefan has brought into the country, I take my 1,000 birds, another takes it, or have 2,000 birds, and then all to that processing plant, and then the birds are processed and packaged well, and it looks very attractive. The Ghanaian also is very sensitive to packaging. So that is a very lucrative business in terms of the processing plants, having a processing plant where farmers can now have the opportunity to get their live birds processed well. And that is good value for investors. And also feed, because it's one of the most challenging aspects of the sector. Having good feed at affordable pricing, that's also very important. And logistics supply, the feeding trucks, the waterings, and everything. So in short, the opportunities of the sector are very encouraging. Currently, egg prices in Ghana is on the high, so much on the high, because production of layer eggs are on the low. So potential investors who would want to come into the system and then invest in the layer and the broiler markets are deeply welcome. It's a very, very potent area of our sector, the poultry sector. And then since mostly when we talk about poultry, we're talking about chicken, it's also one of the main focus of the people. So in brief, the poultry sector is very, as much as there are challenges, it's also one of the very lucrative businesses. So what I would want to hint on is this manufacturing or processing plants, feeding companies, and we know most of the Netherlands, like Complex and other feed manufacturing firms have their markets in Ghana, and more could be done to make this the system more appropriate for farmers. And also the youth participation in the sector is also very good. And then you also want to go into the health aspects, the veterinary section, where vaccinations for birds and everything, medications, those are very potent aspects also. So in short, I just wanted to give a brief on the opportunities that are available. The threats are not as much. You know, poultry sector, the threat basically is about the spread of the poultry disease. But thankfully in Ghana, is very rare to find that you are going to have an outbreak of a particular disease. It's very rare, because most of the poultry farming is done in vegetative areas. And in agriculture, in poultry production, we always say that it's advisable to produce in vegetative zones. In those areas, it mitigates the spread of these diseases, the Newcastle, Gumoro, and all those things. So it's a good zone, the Ghanaian poultry market space. I can't think of an era where we had an outbreak that caused so much havoc in the country. That is because the poultry farmers have become very knowledgeable, and they are more and more doing their farming in the hinterlands where there is greener vegetation, and then there is not much spread. The environment and everything, the vegetation helps in the control of these kind of spread and control of this kind of disease. So one very notifiable advantage in the poultry sector in Ghana is that we are so blessed as a country that we hardly have outbreak of disease. I can't really pick a point where we had an outbreak of a poultry disease so rampant that affected many farms. So that is the plus, the very, very much positives, that if anybody wants to invest in agriculture in Ghana, I would think in Africa, I would say Ghana is the best home for that initiative sector for Africa and all of us. Thank you.